Greetings, Hacksters! Welcome to Tuesday. It's my favorite day of the week. We get to talk to someone doing really cool stuff with hardware. And today's guest is Lynd.
Hello, hello.
How's it going?
It's great to see you. How are you doing, other
Yeah,
Alex?
not too bad, other Alex. We got some workshops coming up next week.
Yes.
Lynd is the creator and founder of DevKitty, as well as an ethical hacker and a cybersecurity educator. Teaches people about all kinds of cool stuff you can do with hardware. And you've made a number of different utilities that people can
Yes.
use to learn about it.
Have you
I'm
been
so
to one of my
excited to get.
workshops? I
I
did run into
haven't.
you. Oh my gosh. Well, I did run into you at SuperCon about a month ago. And
Yeah,
Ginger and also Ben. I think Ginger
yeah.
caught one of my workshops at Open Hardware Summit, though.
I've always wanted to, but I'm A, really slow to sign up, and B, just a mess. So I'm
I
really
feel
excited.
you.
Next week we have a live workshop and a recorded part 2 of your DevKitty workshop. So what are we going to be doing? What is this center around?
Yeah, okay, here it is. So that's my crowd supply campaign, actually.
Haha.
So the older version is based around the Adafruit CutiePie. This is one of my favorite microcontrollers.
Ooh.
If you want to look at my camera, I've got one right here. This form factor is really awesome. It's really tiny. They accommodate like the ESP32, which is Wi-Fi. They have like an RP2040 version, all in this same like minuscule chip form factor, basically. So I
Yeah.
designed this version called the Cutie Cat. The idea is it's meant to be easy for beginners to start with. You can solder it together yourself. I've had a number of iterations of these over the years. But yeah, this current version is based around the Adafruit CutiePie. It's pretty simple. It's 3 components. It's the CutiePie, you solder the header, the screen, and you get a 3D printed enclosure.
And that
So
is the special
yeah,
Hackster limited edition.
yes. So it's a blue circuit board for the Hackster edition. Um, yeah, I've been doing workshops at hacker spaces, maker spaces, conferences over the past 3 years. Some of you guys in the audience might have attended some of these, but we're doing a Hackster holiday edition. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, I was wondering about this naming thing. So we've got DevKitty as like, is Cutie Cat like an older version? But that's the specific iteration, I guess.
Actually, okay, yeah, let me give you some delineation there. It used to be
Yeah,
called the Wi-Fi Nugget. That was the original
yeah,
product. Do you have that stream pulled up? The last one we did?
I sure do. With all of us in our like 1 year ago glory. 1 second, here we go.
Yes.
Like a year and a half. May, I think.
Yeah, that was the original prototype. It was called the Wi-Fi Nugget. Um, since then, I've added a whole bunch of different features. I was going to go with the name DevKitty, but I decided that I liked that better as the umbrella, like the
Ah, yeah.
brand name, since I plan on creating other products. So this particular iteration
Oh,
is called the
here we
Cutie
go.
Cat because it's based around the Adafruit CutiePie. The crowd supply version that's coming out soon is going to be a completely surface mount, injection molded case, all the fun
Cool.
bells and whistles that I couldn't pack into a solder it yourself version. So yeah, that just launched yesterday. If you guys want to check that out and subscribe for updates, adding a whole bunch of really cool features for hacking, like GPS for war driving, for instance. We're building out a Wi-Fi hacking and wireless reconnaissance interface. The one that I've been teaching for a while is USB attacks. That's been like one of my recurring workshops, and also one of the ones that we're going to be running. We're
Cool,
also
yeah.
beefing up some of the USB attack stuff as well.
Very cool. So, yeah, this is the new crowd supply one. You sent me this photo and I was like, oh, that's adorable. And then also
Yeah.
this new enclosure that you just showed us a second
Oh yeah.
ago with the
Yeah.
honeycomb.
Yes. I just designed this last night. Actually, 3D printed a whole bunch of them.
Looks so cool.
The fun thing about this too is what I added were these little perforations in the ears. It used to just be
Hmm.
M2.5 mounts for screws, so you can screw it into the enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
But adding more stuff to your BOM is never ideal. So I was like, okay, we're going to get rid of the threaded inserts. We're going to get rid of the screws.
Mm.
But I still liked the piercing in the ears. So I was like, what can I do with this? So what I did was I made it SMA mounts so you can add external antennas. So that way, if you want to do like long range Wi-Fi hacking, you can wire up SMA antennas, screw on a panel antenna, a directional antenna, Yagi antenna, whatever you want. And same thing for GPS too. There's like a little mod space here. So I actually just recently moved to New York from California. So On the road trip over, we used this to war drive the entire time nonstop, with the external GPS running to the roof of the car, external Wi-Fi antenna pointing at networks and buildings we were passing by. Picked up a couple 100,000 networks.
So explain war driving for our audience, if you would.
Yeah, so
You've made a
it's a
number of
hacker
projects
hobby.
around this.
Yes,
Sorry.
it's a hacker hobby. It's one of our favorite pastimes besides lockpicking. It's basically, it combines mapping with wireless reconnaissance. So the idea is like if you go on Google Maps, right, you can search up coffee shops near you. You can search up like different things in your area. Imagine if you could do that, but for wireless networks and devices. So war driving lets you create maps of wireless assets around you. So I can see like, oh, there's an iPhone in this location. There's a Starbucks Wi-Fi here. Basically, all it entails is you can just like drive through your city or through a neighborhood with a Wi-Fi and GPS capable device, and this lets you create a sophisticated map of various things. You can see IoT devices, Wi-Fi devices, Bluetooth devices, and you can go back later on and perform queries. Like if you want to see all the different vulnerable networks in your area, you can do that in just a couple seconds. One of my favorite resources, if I could screen share with you real quick,
Cool.
is called Wiggle. So,
Oh yeah, you have it on here.
oh, do I? Yes. I'll talk about that in a second.
But I can share your screen as well.
Yes. Okay, here we
Oh,
go.
you gave a talk at DEF CON about this. I definitely have questions about the different security cons and your
Oh, you got
thoughts,
Wiggle
but
pulled up.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so people like me that have nothing better to do with their free time contribute to open source databases like this.
Ooh.
Oh no, wait, no, you can put back in
Here,
your
I'll go back to mine for a sec.
You can contribute to open source databases like Wiggle. There is an Android app that you can download, which takes advantage of the Wi-Fi and GPS on your phone. But some people go really crazy. They'll build custom rigs like in the thousands of dollars. My friend Dustin, I can
Whoa.
pull him up in a second, has like entire spec out rigs that he builds into Pelican cases in his car.
Oh no, I
No, I
keep
still
doing
don't have
this.
it pulled up.
Oh, you're sharing my screen. That's what's
Yeah, we're
happening.
looking at your screen.
Aha.
Um, but
Anyway, so
yeah,
you've got this friend who like, yeah.
the DevKitty devices, they are Wiggle compatible. So it's got a little SD card. If you're war driving, you just plug in the SD card and it gives you a format that you can stick right onto Wiggle. The workshops that I've done revolve around data visualization. So they take advantage of a tool called Google Colab.
Hmm.
Let me see if I've got any snapshots real quick. But Google Colab is a very useful tool. It's a Python tool, which was initially designed for machine learning. So when you're doing like machine learning, you want data visualization and all that fun stuff. But what I use it for is visualizing wireless reconnaissance. There's plugins that let you do mapping, like visual mapping. You can create like heat maps or cluster maps or like all sorts of other interesting visual representations of data, which would otherwise look kind of boring or intimidating to look at in a terminal. And I use this as a beginner-friendly way to introduce like Wi-Fi hacking concepts. So it's like, okay, you've driven around, you've gathered your Wi-Fi data. How can we actually make this useful? Google Colab comes in as an easy-to-use Python tool that lets you just stick the data that you've collected off the SD card inside of this Python environment, use a mapping software like Folium, and then create visual maps that let you see wireless devices around you, or query for particular things like, oh, how many IoT devices are there? How many routers are vulnerable to this particular exploit? That kind of thing. It's really awesome. Maybe I'll consider teasing it in the adversary workshop that we run.
Yeah, so next week we're going to be running this live workshop. The first half will be a live stream, and then we're going to be recording a part 2. And what we're going to be doing is working with the DevKitty. So we'll have a couple of guests as well, I think. And my colleague Ginger and you and I will be going. You'll be leading us through this workshop. We'll
Yes.
be unboxing, assembling, and then learning to program both the LEDs and ideally doing some packet injection. Is that right? But on
Packet
different days,
injection,
maybe.
maybe not. We're still working on that feature, but
Okay.
definitely the recon stuff.
Cool. I'm so excited.
I just pulled
Uh,
up a resource real quick if I could share it with you.
no sharing. Yes, please do that.
No. Okay, you guys want to go to creepdetector.wtf. This
Oh
is a
yeah.
a proof of concept that I made quite some time ago. I think I was a
Still
sophomore in
loading,
high
it looks
school.
like.
So that would have been maybe 6 years ago. I don't know. It was a long time ago. This was my first venture into anything like programming related, Wi-Fi hacking related. The idea is like I had just learned about war driving and I wanted to create a practical application for it.
Neat.
So detecting stalkers was my idea. Like if you're driving through wherever, chances are if any wireless device is following you around your path for like some interval of time or distance, like a couple miles, they're probably following you. So I wanted to see if we could test this out with war driving. The rig that I built was initially designed around a Raspberry Pi, but I've since ported it to the ESP8266.
Ooh.
This demo though uses Google Colab. Oh my gosh, that was so small. But here you can see Google Colab. You can write your code in this kind of like notebook environment. Um, you can perform data visualization with awesome plugins like Folium. So this was the final map. What I did was I skateboarded around the local neighborhood block and had a friend follow me in his car, and I was able to see like the different points where he was stalking me along that route. So it's really
Whoa.
useful for things like that.
And you've got this on your GitHub, I noticed. It's one of
I
the
do,
things I was
yeah.
digging through your checkered past, looking at your old projects.
Is it impressive?
Um,
I hope so.
oh,
Hey, there we
so
go.
impressive, so impressive. And yeah, creep list generated in Jupyter Notebook.
Be gone, creeps.
Got that rendered creep map with Folium. I really like this approach where it's sort of doing similar to that, what they have with Apple AirTags, but I
Exactly.
personally find it really interesting learning about security in the framework of like self-defense, which you've also got videos with Hack5 about how to defend
Yes.
yourself from Wi-Fi pineapple attacks and stuff like that I can pull up.
Yes.
Uh, for me, that's like a huge motivator in learning about hardware hacking and other types of
Oh,
attacks. It's
absolutely.
just like, yeah, and so when you say ethical hacking, that feels to me is a big part of it. What else to you falls under the umbrella of ethical hacking?
Yeah, for one, I want to say like things like Wi-Fi hacking. A lot of people question the relevance. It's still absolutely relevant. I do trainings for corporate clients and also for the military, like teaching not only how to defend against this, but how to use Wi-Fi hacking
Whoa.
from an adversarial perspective. Oh, is my audio or camera weird?
Oh no, I was just going whoa about what you're
Oh,
saying.
I heard you say, oh, I was like, oh no. um,
That was a whoa.
yeah. Did you ask what else falls under the umbrella of
Yeah,
ethical
what
hacking?
else do you think falls under there? Because you have it on your profile, so I'm like, okay, well,
Yes.
I'm gonna make him
Hey, there we
explain
go.
himself.
Hack 5 videos.
All kinds of stuff in here.
Dude, this
I'll have
was
to watch that
forever
later.
ago. Do you think I look different? I think I look
Yes, you're
smaller.
very tiny,
Other
but
things that
it's
fall
cool.
under the umbrella of ethical hacking. Well, there's so many different niches that you can get into, and everything's just a double-edged sword. Like really, any subdivision of cybersecurity or infosec that you could look into can be ethical or not. So, like social engineering, I guess there could be some ethical use cases. Like I don't know, a lot of clients will pay for audits on their company or that kind of thing. Yeah, so there's like social engineering, there's like wireless hacking, physical exploits. I would say, regardless of what it is, like even if you're using adversarial or like so called dark skills, as long as you're aiming them to some sort of good cause or end goal, I think it would fall under the purview of being ethical. But
Legit.
me personally, my favorite is wireless signals. I think for one, they're extremely ubiquitous. They're everywhere. Like we're literally a walking constellation of wireless beacons every second of the
Ooh,
day.
yeah.
We're always being tracked. But what's interesting to me is there is a lot of fear mongering, or like some aspects of it are overplayed. Like a lot of VPN companies will hinge their selling point or like their mojo around like, oh, there's a hacker at a coffee shop that's trying to target your devices and like steal your credit card information and whatever.
Hmm.
Very unprobable. That's a very sophisticated and targeted attack, and chances are you're not that interesting of an individual hacker to target you specifically. So things like that I think are kind of ridiculous and almost toe the line for me for unethical. Um, and it's weird. Like some people in this space also overplay. Um, some aspects of hacking because it's scary, it's misunderstood. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm trying to do with my work is like demystify like
Hmm.
the wireless world because a lot of it's like shrouded in mystery, misinformation, and whatever have you. So like with my videos and with my projects like DevKitty, what I'm hoping to do is like make some of these topics more palatable and accessible for beginners that are trying to break into this space. Because really, it's not that complicated. It's not that scary. Um, yeah, I just want everybody to have open access to learn all the interesting and spooky things that I know because I wish there were better resources when I first started getting into this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I find it very empowering to just know a little bit about the landscape. And I think once you start dipping your toe into it, like maybe the first time you go to DEF CON or whatever, you're like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm in danger. But then
yeah,
it's like, okay, but how likely is it that someone is actually specifically targeting me? And there are
right,
general principles of like, I want to protect myself against this general type of like actual threat model. I have a threat model that like defines like what I might actually face. And for me it's often a lot more mundane stuff, honestly. Not to, like cool people in hoodies but just like, fingerless gloves not required, just like
right.
boring stuff like spear phishing over email, social
Mhm.
engineering stuff. But anyway, uh,
I think that's where
you've
like
all.
the
Mm.
sorry,
No, go on, please. Your show.
what was I gonna say? Oh, that's where like the conversation about privacy versus security is raised. There
Mm.
is a very distinct difference between the two. You can have one without the other. For instance, some companies have vested interest in protecting your data because that's basically their moneymaker. Protecting your data, that would be the security aspect, but not necessarily private because they can still sell that data. So
Mm.
there is a trade-off sometimes. Like if you're using VPNs, it's like, oh, who has access to your information now? Like, sure, it's protected against your ISP, but now
Mm-hmm.
all of that information is centralized in a VPN company that could potentially be subpoenaed. For that, I'd recommend
Yeah.
Proton VPN, by the way, because they don't store logs. Um, but I mean, as far as
Cool.
like general OPSEC goes for the average person, like you're fine to use Google to store your photos and your documents and like all that fun stuff. I've got a couple of like fun things that I like to employ. Like this is my favorite thing recently for carrying around files that I access. It's this little iron key.
Ooh,
It's an encrypted drive. It's
check
got all my
that
stuff
out.
on there. Whoop, whoop. What else do we have?
Wait, so okay, may I ask about that real quick? Because I
Yeah,
have made flash drives with Apple, like Apple's built-in software enables me to create password-protected encrypted flash drives. What's
right.
special about the Iron Key?
It's physical. If you need to carry data between different places, like this is cross-platform, I can plug this into a Linux machine, Windows, whatever, files that I want to frequently access.
Ah,
Um, I don't know what encryption standard or like what software Apple's using for encryption, but I am guessing there's probably not like a native thing to decrypt those files on Linux or Windows, for instance.
mhm. So does that have a keypad on it?
It does have a keypad on it.
Do you like type in a little pin or whatever?
You can. Do you guys want to see my pin live? I use it for
Yes,
everything.
yes, your pin.
Yeah. The
Cool.
other tool that I really like is called Veracrypt. It's cross-platform. It's software-based. So if you want to
Mm.
send stuff in the cloud, you can encrypt files, and you can even make them self-destruct. It's
Whoa,
very useful.
cool. Pulling these up real
Speaking of,
quick.
yeah,
Oh yeah, please go on. I'm just gonna show people these real quick. Zoop.
Proton
Proton
VPN.
VPN. They've got a whole suite of really private tools, email,
Oh yeah,
docs sharing now, etc.
yeah.
But yeah, and then Veracrypt. Oh,
Veracrypt
interesting.
still looks like a scam website, but I promise you, it's great.
It looks very hacker. Okay, the aesthetic is the key, right? That's the
Yes.
important part. All right, so
Yeah, if you want to go over to Thistle, I noticed you had that
oh
pulled
yeah,
up. So
I sure
Thistle's
do.
doing some pretty awesome stuff. The founder is Window Snyder. She's great. She was, I think, like the CTO of multiple different companies.
Whoa.
I think like this might be wrong, like Apple and Mozilla, maybe a couple others. But she's doing some really great stuff with Thistle. There's not really a good existing platform or paradigm for securing uh, embedded devices. There's a couple, but not a lot that just like come to mind immediately or are ubiquitous. So Thistle's developing security tools that are geared towards embedded devices. It's an online platform where you can manage like over-the-air updates. We've done stuff with like the ESP32. That's the microcontroller that I have on the DevKitty. Raspberry Pi, BeagleBone Black. Manages not only like security, but also administering over-the-air updates. So one of the upcoming demos that we have is with this tool that I just got from Adafruit.
Let me pull this. Here we go.
Yeah, it's called the TrustM module. It's really
so cute.
So it's made by Infineon. Basically, it's a tiny piece of silicon that you can use for encryption. So it interfaces over I2C. Hey, yeah, there's a picture right there. It interfaces over I2C, so it only needs 2 other wires besides power. And if you have other sensors on that bus too, you can see that it's like plugged in over a daisy chainable wire.
Is
But
that quick?
yeah, this.
Did you just say that?
Yeah, it's quick. SparkFun calls it quick. Adafruit calls it.
Oh yeah, Stemma QT on.
QT.
You've got them both on
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I was deciding which one to put on there, and then in the end, I just put I2C on the new revision.
Yeah, legit. Cool.
Yeah,
I've heard about ARM Trust Zone. That's like the only like hardware, like the one that comes up a lot. I'm really interested about this Infineon one.
Yeah. So if you have an existing product that doesn't have dedicated silicon for security or encryption, you can buy this. It has keys programmed into it from the factory. You can generate new public keys. You can use it for like protecting TLS certificates to make sure your IoT devices are connecting securely to the internet. With this the demo that they're building, which the video should be coming out in the next 2 weeks or so, is we made a secure boot demo where the public key is stored on the TrustM. When it boots up, the signed firmware checks that it's got the correct key on here, make sure that it's untampered with. I thought this was really fun. It's my first time working with like encryption on an actual microcontroller. And this is just so cute. I love it.
It's really
I'm
cute.
I thought for it with the Cutie Cat.
Awesome. And you've also got this previous video about that's already out about making your microcontroller projects more secure. This is a Feather of some type?
Yeah, that is a Feather. It's a Feather ESP32.
Ah, there we go. So folks, this is already out. You can go check this out on the Thistle Technologies page. I think it's also linked from your personal website, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
here we go. Go check out. You can find more about what Alex does here. This is linked in the description to the video. And also, if you check this out, there's also easy OTA over-the-air updates on the Raspberry Pi.
Yes.
And then all these, oh man, there's so much interesting stuff here. Okay, I'm not going to go too far into this, but is this like another thing related to the Wi-Fi pineapple? Because I've heard of the Wi-Fi pineapple.
Yes.
But not the Wi-Fi coconut.
Limited edition product. It was an orb-shaped device. It was a coconut-shaped device. But the thing is,
the pineapple.
Wi-Fi has so many different channels. If you want to scan them all, you have to do what's called channel hopping. There's like 14 for 2.4. So you can't scan all 14 channels at the same time unless you have 14 Wi-Fi dongles. So what the coconut did was it packed 14 dongles inside of one puck form factor, routes them through a USB hub, and you can just plug it into your computer over Type-C and access 14 interfaces for sniffing the entire 2.4 band. 5 gigahertz, however, that's a different beast because there's like 50 different channels.
So we have this, I'm confusing myself with the audio here, but you've got this video with the coconut as well. But I'm guessing you might explain the difference as part of this video as well. But everyone, this is just linked from your work page. But then I liked this comment that I didn't feel like linking all of them here. Legit.
They were too many. Dude, I have to update that website. Oh my gosh. Also, hello Aisha. Hello Jasmine. It's good to see you guys in the comments. So Jasmine, I helped out with her workshop at SuperCon. She's with Electronic Cats. They do some pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah.
They also make cat-themed electronics. And then Aisha creates beautiful blinky things, all sorts of wearables and cute stuff. And she's going to be helping out at the upcoming workshop, actually.
Yeah, so that's next Monday. We're going live, everyone, December 23rd. Stay tuned. I'm going to set it up right after this stream. We're going to confirm the details and get that set up. I'm so excited. I've been
this is gonna
wanting
be
to take this workshop forever, and so the fact that I get to do it like as part of my job is just like amazing. OpenCV, is this Phil?
Is that actually OpenCV?
Or is it Satya? I bet it's Phil. He's always around.
Well, hi Phil.
Hi buddies definitely sounds like a Phil thing. It could be Satya though. I don't know. All right. So let's see, where were we? We've got this,
We're
you've got
talking
this crowd
about
supply thing coming up.
encryption, crowd supply.
Yeah. So let's make sure we get to a couple of things that you were excited to talk about. Unlike everything else, which is super boring, we're going to talk about ideation and
Yes.
some of the custom components that you've built. I saw this little smart metering device that you've
Yeah.
got in your DevKitty there.
Let me
Let's
see
hear
if I've
about
got
these
some
things.
good photos here. Give me a second to pull assets up.
No.
Okay. First, please, please, other Alex, give me permission. Okay, here we go.
You get a hard time because you're another Alex.
Um,
Okay.
oops, wait, that's not
It's
it.
definitely
But,
Phil. We got confirmation.
okay.
Phil Nelson, everybody.
If you want to screen
Oh, here
share
we
me,
go.
that'd be cool. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where the Cutie Cat actually started. So at this time, I already had the original Wi-Fi Nugget, but I was experimenting with like a war driving form factor. I stuck an Adafruit CutiePie on there. I stuck a GPS module. I stuck an SD card and a LiPo charger. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to run this as a separate product because I have a lot of friends that are creating stuff for war driving. And at the time, the Wi-Fi Nugget was based around like the Wemos D1 Mini. It's kind of a thick
Mm.
microcontroller, and I wasn't a big fan of it. What I like about the CutiePie, you can see it's castellated. You can mount it directly on the circuit board. I was like, yeah, this is kind of sick.
Mm.
And then I was like,
And
wait,
that's very similar to the Siege Xiao as well, right? They're kind of
yeah,
they're pin
exactly.
compatible, but Mhm.
Same thing.
Oh, it's right
CutiePie
there.
Studio, exactly. Yeah. Um, I was like, wait, why don't I just replace the microcontroller on the Wi-Fi Nugget and make it something new? Make it like war driving compatible. Add an SD card. Add the LiPo battery instead of having this like product confusion.
Mm.
So then I made this a couple weeks later. I was actually up in Seattle visiting Joel Telling when I made this. Joel Telling's the 3D printing nerd. I'll show you something
Mhm.
really cool in a second. I designed this, I ordered the circuit boards, and then I came home to a cat-shaped form factor. It's got the Adafruit CutiePie / Seed Studio Xiao. It's got the LiPo, it's got the SD card, and I started war driving around Seattle with this. Um, yeah, the idea with this is it's meant to be more modular. So like if you're a beginner and you don't know what you want to do yet, if you want to experiment, um, the CutiePie / Xiao form factor is really great because Adafruit carries like a whole bunch of different breakout boards. Um,
Oh yeah.
so if you wanted to stack them up, well, it's already got like micro SD, but they've got like other breakouts uh, and sensors and things. See if I can find any that are interesting. Ooh, this one's
All
like an
kinds of cool
I2S
stuff.
amplifier. Like if you want to add sound, you can literally just solder that right on,
Nice.
which is really great. But one of the other things that I added space for a mod chip. So, well, actually, no. Let's focus on this guy up here first. I added space for this. It's called the Minimeter. So one of the biggest gripes that I have, um, having worked with electronics for about 5 years now, is there aren't really any good ubiquitous LiPo charging circuits that you can also just drop into an existing design.
Hmm.
Like, have you worked with like the TP4056, Alex, or like any other
I have
LiPo
not. I
battery
usually
management standard?
I haven't built anything that required its own like power management, so mostly
Okay.
just like interfaces.
There's things like this where it's like, okay, it's designed to charge a lithium polymer battery, but it's not designed to integrate into a circuit board.
Mm.
There's no good middle ground between things that are meant to be used standalone and things that are breadboardable. Like
Mm.
Adafruit has a lot of really good breadboard stuff, but I was like, I'm doing a lot of middle ground stuff. I want things that I can just solder onto an existing board and reuse in different boards, particularly LiPo chargers. There's not a lot of good small ones. So I wanted one that could charge lithium polymer batteries and return the voltage like over the same line. And I also wanted to be able to do battery metering. So I found this chipset called the Max 17048. What's really cool about this is it uses the same protocol that the security chip I talked about earlier uses. It's called I2C.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use the same bus. You don't need any more pins. And what it does is it lets you read the battery level over I2C. So you can see the
So
current, you
cool.
can see the voltage, you can see the charge percentage. It requires like no additional pins, which is really great because the CutiePie / Xiao is like limited to so many pins that are already being used. It's like the screen already uses I2C. Quick uses
Yeah, I'm
I2C, and you can just
I'm
use this little drop-in module and read out and charge battery at the same time.
That's so rad. I'm gonna pull up this Minimeter page that you have real quick just to show people. This is on DevKitty.io. If you go to the docs, you can find a specific page for this with more about the chip that Alex is talking about, and then all the other stuff that's on the board, pinout, and stuff like that. So lots more of this on the website.
Yeah, it's super
I'm a
super tiny.
documentation nerd.
Um,
We go.
it's not focusing.
There we go.
Super super tiny. There's like 10 of them in this bag. Part of the crowd supply campaign is, dang it, it's blurry. That's all right.
Love it when that happens.
Is I want to launch and mass produce these guys. I think they're going to be very useful for a bunch of other different products. I've been designing products for other clients, and I've already integrated this in there. Super handy.
Rad. So let's see. Tell us about ideation now. How did you go through this process? We talked a little bit about names, and now I feel like I have a better sense of the ecosystem. But yeah, you had the Nugget, which was sort of the like protoplasmic version of this primordial
Yeah.
primordial kitty earlier in the evolution. Now you've got DevKitty, the umbrella, with Cutie Cat underneath it, and then also the upcoming one, which is called Whisker.
Yes.
Cool.
Like most good things, it was serendipitous. It started out as just a friend had a bunch of components that he wanted to get rid of, and we were teaching workshops. So I designed a form factor that was like kind of Game Boy like. It was just an ugly brick square with buttons and a screen and a Wemos D1 Mini. I don't think I have any here. But then I was like, what if I make it cat shaped? I like cats. So that picture you pulled up earlier, the original Wi-Fi Nugget, that's what came out of it. It was cat shaped. It didn't have circuit board art at the time. It didn't have a 3D printed enclosure or anything. It was just a board that I created for teaching workshops. It was a vessel for basically just teaching hacking. Yeah, that's it. I
It's so
never
cute.
intended. Yeah, I never intended to mass produce it. I didn't intend to market it. You can see it's just the raw circuit board there. It's already come so far. But I created
I
like a
honestly
couple
love this
videos on
too, though.
Hack
I'm such a
5.
sucker for like little
Yeah,
faces on screens. Okay.
it got some attention on Hack 5. Next thing you know, people were asking to buy it, put it up on Twitter and Shopify. Got like a couple hundred sales in the first week, which is crazy. And then it became like a recurring thing. I started teaching more workshops with it. That started to fund itself. I started traveling. I spent an entire year and a half just traveling and subsisting off of money from workshops. I was still in the
Wow.
red. Like IRS, if you're out there, I still owe taxes for that year. I still owe taxes for this year, but
Hey.
that's a story for later. Um, but it was really awesome. It just like exploded into this thing. I was like, I traveled to the Open Hardware Summit in New York for the first time. That's where I met
Woo.
Aisha, and also Ginger.
Mm-hmm.
What else did I do that year? I did like 3 different B-sides. I did DEF CON. They're all linked on my website. I did like a couple talks. Yeah, like B-side San Diego. And then I took a little hiatus. Yeah. I took a little bit of a hiatus to just explore, kind of like dive into, I don't know, my professional career. I started working with Thistle and like learning about the stuff that they're doing. I started taking on more client work because I feel like it's always better to expand your purview and your skill set where you can. It'll come to help you out, especially in product development. Like you can't spend all your time in this bubble of just creating your product. You need to have a worldview, like if you want to build something effective, particularly if it's geared towards education. So like kind of the last year and a half for me has been working with as many different clients and like as many different industries as I can. Like just this morning, I got back from working at a movie prop studio. I'm designing electronics for them. I've been doing consulting for like Formula One. I've been teaching
Wow.
classes for the military, doing content creation, um, and it's helped me learn about like so many different interesting like nuggets of things over time. Like I wouldn't be working with the TrustM module if I didn't do work with Thistle. I wouldn't know about like these tools like the Iron Key if I wasn't looking for easy civilian tools that I can teach to like military personnel for operations security. But yeah, a
This
lot
is
of it's just been a combination of like serendipity, showing up to as many events as possible, and having a lot of good friends like surrounding me in the maker community. Like, if you spread love, you'll get love, you know. So I'm really
serendipity,
appreciative for
events,
everyone.
and friends. Got it.
Yeah. Like definitely if you're out there and you're trying to create your product and like get off the ground with it, like exposure is the biggest thing. Just show up to events, show other people what you're working on, talk to people.
Absolutely. So we got started a little bit late today, which means that we're running into our meeting to set up the workshop, actually. And if you all tune in next week, we will have plenty more to talk about. And then we've got a bunch more. I I kind of went ham, being like, "What's all this stuff that I want to like ask Alex about?" And you
Oh
better
no.
believe that I'm going to show up next week and be like, "Okay, like while
Do you
we're
have any more you
soldering
want to
or
run
whatever."
through real quick?
Well, let's wrap up with something. Let's see.
If I could share a couple photos, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I brought this up. Part of the ideation happened on a little impromptu trip to Seattle. I was just visiting family, and then I found out Joel Telling was up there, the 3D printing nerd. So we were just chatting about my project, and he was like, "Let's make a video." You can find that video online. But he 3D printed me this big logo,
That's so good.
which I had trouble getting onto the airplane because I was flying Spirit. This doesn't fit in my backpack. They wanted me to check this in as like
Oh.
another carry-on item. I was like, "Damn you!" So this was really cool. This came with me on my road trip over here to New
Cool.
York. But give me 1 second. I'm gonna screen share with you. What I wanted to do is give a shout out to Prussia actually, because they saw that video where I showed my sad Ender 3s rotting in my kitchen, and they sent me 2 Prussias. So one of
Nice.
them, okay, here
I
we
think
go.
I found the video that you're talking about, by the way, real quick. We've got Cat Without CAD DevKitty logo in Prusa
Yeah.
Slicer. All
Can
right,
you see my
now let's
screen?
pull. Yeah, here we go.
Okay, so one of them made it with me across the country. We were 3D printing on the road. This is literally in the back seat of my friend's car. So I was fulfilling orders while we were driving across. I was printing pictures. I've got the spool holder here, which is the tripod I'm using to hold up my camera. The best part is
Oh,
the
go
entire
on.
back of this car is just like a big heat shroud. Like my friend didn't have AC. He
Whoa.
was dying in the back.
Oh no.
So what I did was in a Mexican restaurant, I designed this AC vent hose adapter for him. We went to Home Depot and bought HVAC hose, and then we ran it into the back seat into his pants to cool him down. So shout out to Prussia and shout out to my contact Shane for sending me that printer because it really pulled through.
They always come in handy. You never know what you're gonna need to adapt. That's incredible.
Yeah, fun times.
Ah, wow. Okay, everybody. There's so much more I want to dig into, but I'm gonna have to save some of these for next week. Okay, one last question, real quick. If you had any like good bloopers on videos or in workshops or like mishaps or accidents, tell us about the chaos.
Oh God, I feel like every day is a blooper for me.
Hey, that's
um,
something to cross stitch. I feel like
no, literally every video I do, there's just at least a good 30 minutes of bloopers. I'll screw up what I'm trying to say.
that's
Uh,
why editing is so awful for me. Is that like it's not novel because I've seen it all before because I did it before, and then I have to like chop out the like 1 take out of 5 per
yeah,
sentence that like works well. But okay, uh, we
I
can
don't
chat
know.
more about that next week. Oh
I'll
yeah.
try to find good bloopers to play for the workshop, but it's definitely a lot of swearing, a lot of like me dissociating and staring into the camera because I've been speaking for like an hour. I'm
Yeah,
sure you can relate.
absolutely. I have one
How about
from.
you? Tell me about a fun moment.
Let me. I'll just link one in the chat real quick or something. There's one where I was making a video about what was the phrase? Oh yeah, I was making an April Fool's video. I often like to sort of I don't always comment on current events, but I often for April Fools will do a video that's sort of like riffing on a current thing and just in a very silly way. And there's one that I made that was the weirdest. That was about cryptocurrencies and phantom power I worked in there, and somehow we got onto the subject of ghost ants. I don't know, but I was trying to say the phrase cryptocurrency, and also there was another thing. But I ended up publishing this on Instagram as like a little blooper. I'll have to link that. You can see me like making the faces where I'm trying to like say this thing correctly. I did a horrible thing to myself where it was like cellular
No.
library requires was a phrase that I wrote for myself to say, and it was
Why would
horrible.
you do that?
Anyway, horrible stuff like that. But after an hour, you're just like brain dead. Anyway,
I have a lot of footage of me falling on camera because I'm usually skating while I'm recording. Sometimes I just eat crap on the sidewalk. I'm like,
did you say
ah.
you're usually skating while you're recording? I gotta check these out.
I haven't published any yet. I've got like so much footage I've piled up over the past like
That's how it
2 years, but someday you guys will see it all.
Gotta find an editor and like someone to like mash it
Yeah,
down.
for real.
So yeah, let's check out these links again real quick. And again, everyone, I will add this link to our description along with the other ones. We'll add the link to next week's workshop on
See that
Monday,
box
the
right there?
23rd. Oh,
See
yeah?
that
Oh,
box right there,
yeah.
guys?
Very
Click
important
on that.
box.
Put in your personal contact information.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
That's not my email. Yeah. Go check out this page. It's already very largely built out. You can see more about the features and specs. Super cute.
That's a render of the new edition that's coming out, by the way. The Surface Mount version. 6 keys and a bunch of other cool secrets.
More of a Game Boy type. Very cool. And then some social proof. Yeah, check that out. Next week on Monday, December 23rd, we'll have the first DevKitty workshop, a live stream with some cool Hackster pros. And then later in the week, we'll release part 2, which will be a pre-recorded demo where we're all trying to figure out who can make the weirdest, coolest, silliest, most janked up hack with it. So
yeah, if you guys want to get these circuit boards, a couple lucky winners are going to have these shipped to them. So Hackster
yeah, tune in for the giveaways.
With sexy blue and gold, you'll get a 3D printed enclosure. And also, I think, do I have enough stickers? I do have stickers. You guys will get some fun vinyl stickers.
I'm very excited about this. Oh, check out that one.
Yeah, this one was drawn by my roommate, actually. It's an exploding cat with a soldering iron. Pretty rad.
Give them my compliments. That looks awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Thanks so much for joining, Alex. I can't wait for next week. I've been wanting to take this workshop forever. As I said, everybody, thanks for joining in the chat. It's cool to see some friendly faces. We'll catch you next week and hack on.
Later.